Okay, we're going to be multiplying polynomials, and the trick to these is just make sure it's like everything gets multiplied by everything. So we're going to take the first term in this first polynomial and we're going to multiply it by everything in this second term. So it's got to be multiplied by every term. So it's like we're going to take that 2x and then we're going to multiply it times that x plus 1. Then you're going to take this -3, and now you've got to multiply it by every term in that second polynomial. So you're going to say -3 times that x plus 1. Okay, so now let's go multiply. So 2x times x gives us 2x squared. 2x times the 1 gives us 2x. Then we have -3 times x, which is -3x, and -3 times 1, which is -3. Now, a lot of times your polynomials are going to look like these binomials that we just did, and when that happens, then you're just always going to look for if we have any like terms now that we can add together. So anything you have left, you want to add like terms. And we've got this 2x and -3x. So we've got 2x squared minus x, it's these two terms joined together, minus 3. And that becomes a quadratic type equation, and so that is your final answer. Okay, so remember when we square something, that means you're multiplying it times itself. So you're saying 3x minus 4 times 3x minus 4. And we're going to do that same thing again. We're going to take this first term and we're going to multiply it times everything in that second polynomial. So we're going to get that first 3x and we're going to multiply it by that second polynomial. Then we're going to get the -4. And we're going to go distribute him to everything in that second polynomial. So that gives us -4 times that 3x minus 4. Now if you multiply those out, so 3x times the 3x is 9x squared. The 3x times -4 is -12x. Then we're going to have -4 times 3x, -12x, and -4 times -4 is +16. And again, we have these like terms in the middle. So a -12 and another -12 gives us -24x in the middle plus the 16. All right, so first term, and this is just all you're going to do over and over. So x times the x, and if you can either write them or you can go ahead and start multiplying them, whatever works for you. So we're going to take this first x and multiply it by this polynomial, x plus 7. Then you're going to take the second term, -7 times x plus 7. All right, so multiply them out. X times x is x squared. X times 7, 7x. -x times 7, -7x, and -7 times -7 is -49. Add your middle terms together. Those will actually end up being 0 because of +7x, and you subtract out 7x, just gives you 0. So that's going to just end up being x squared minus 49. Okay, well sometimes they're going to get a little bit longer polynomials going on here. So I'm going to show you a different way to do this one. We're going to take that first term and we're going to multiply it by everything over here. So we've got 2x times that 3x squared plus 2x minus 5. Then we're going to take this +3 and multiply it by this whole polynomial. Okay, so when I like to do them and they get a little bit more complicated like this one, as I'm multiplying these out, I'm going to stack these like terms. So we've got 2x times this 3x squared. 2 times 3 is 6, and then that gives me an x cubed. 2x times the 2x is positive 4x squared. And then 2x times this negative 5 gives me a negative 10x. Okay, and as I'm multiplying this second part over here, I'm going to stack any like terms. So 3 times 3x squared is 9x squared, and that's plus positive 9x squared. So you see how I'm going to stack it underneath its like term, another x squared. 3 times 2x gives me a positive 6x, so I'm going to stack it right underneath that other x term, and then 3 times negative 5 is a negative 15. Now that just makes it easier to add those like terms. So we have the 6x cubed. We've got a 4x squared and a 9x squared, so that gives us 13x squared. We have a negative 10x and a positive 6x, so that gives us a negative 4x, and then a minus 15. Okay, so as you see, now we've got a trinomial times a trinomial. Well, let's take this first term, 2x squared, and we're going to multiply it by this other polynomial. We're going to take the second term and multiply it by that entire second polynomial. Then we're going to do the third term. Okay, so now let's go multiply out. Again, let's just stack things that are like terms. So 2x squared times 5x squared gives us 10x to the fourth. Remember, we multiply numbers, we add those exponents. 2x squared times negative 3x gives me 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, and x squared times x is x cubed. 2x squared times 2 gives us 4x squared. So now we're multiplying this negative 4 times that entire polynomial. So negative 4x times 5x squared gives us negative 20x cubed. So I'm going to go stack it underneath this other x cubed. Negative 4x times negative 3x. Well, negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12. And x times x is x squared. Negative 4x times the positive 2 gives us negative 8x. Okay, so now that one's been multiplied out, so now let's go take this positive 5 and let's multiply him times everything. So 5 times 5x squared, 5 times 5 is 25x squared. 5 times negative 3x, that gives us a negative 15x, and then 5 times 2 is 10. So now we're just ready to add up our like terms, and since we've stacked them, that makes it a lot easier to do. So 10x to the fourth, we're adding up our x cubes, and we've got negative 20 and a negative 6, which makes negative 26 x cubes. Then we've got all these x squared terms. We've got 4x squared, a positive 12x squared, and a 25x squared. So you add all that together and you get 41x squared. Then we have this negative 8x and a negative 15x. Add those together. Since they're both negative, we add. That's negative 23x plus 10. And I know that's a really long answer, but just look, none of those terms are like terms, so we cannot add any of those other ones together. So it's real important to make sure you only add those like terms together. Okay, well, if you happen to notice, if we're just doing these binomials, you can look for a pattern. And I'm going to multiply this one out just like we did all the other ones before. So we've got this x, and we're going to multiply it by everything in the second binomial. So x times x is x squared. X times 7 is positive 7x. Then we're taking this negative 2, we're going to multiply it by everything in the second binomial. So that makes negative 2x and then minus 14, that 2 times 7. Well, notice that those middle terms always can add together if your binomials look similar. Okay, so we've got that 7 and the 2, and if you notice, you just have them here, that positive 7 and the negative 2, so you can always add those together, giving you a 5x, and then you're multiplying those last terms, so negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. So if you sort of understand that pattern, you can look at this and say, okay, first term is going to be x squared. If I add these two terms together, that gives me negative 9x, and then if I multiply these two terms together, that gives me a positive 20. Okay, if that's confusing, multiply them out like we did in the ones earlier, and you're still good to go. You're still going to get the same answer. You don't have to worry about understanding that shortcut if you don't want to. Okay, so you just keep multiplying them out. So x plus 6 times x minus 8. Remember, multiply your first two terms, x squared. Add these two terms, and that will give us a positive 6 and a negative 8, gives us a negative 2. X will be that, and then when we multiply these two terms together, we get a negative 48. Okay, so multiply, add, that's the 1x and the 9x, that gives us 10x, and then multiply 1 times 9. Okay. If you still need to take this term and go multiply times everything, that is perfectly fine. You're going to get the same answer, okay? So don't worry about that if you don't understand the shortcut. So multiply a squared, add negative 2a, positive 7a, gives us 5a, and then multiply negative 2 times 7, negative 14. R times r squared, add your 4r and 5r, gives you 9r, multiply 4 times 5, you get 20. Okay, you might try these on your own. If you want to pause and try these on your own, just make sure you're getting the concept, and then come back and look at the final answer. I will write them down here. And last one. So hopefully you're getting the hang of this. Multiply those last two numbers. Negative 5 times negative 1 is positive 5. Okay, so those should be your final answers. And hopefully you won't have any trouble.